Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Career Therapy Live, where we are taking a look at recent career news, workforce news, and reacting to some articles that are out there about what's happening in today's day and age. Uh, Grab onto your shorts or whatever. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying here, but we're doing a quick live stream here. I came across an article on US News, and it's Gen Z and millennials are driving the great resignation. Don't worry, I'll get better at these live streams. I'm a little rusty. So, the youngest workers are reported on being the most dissatisfied with their work life. Dissatisfaction is a big topic, so let's get into it.
I'm too old for this. Been around this broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.
All right, so I got a couple minutes here, and I wanted to just jump in and share this article. Good to see you, Marcus. How's it going, my man? All right, so this article is study Gen Z and millennials are driving the great resignation. So, if you haven't heard this term, the great resignation, it's all about how, since the pandemic and the ability to work remote, people have been taking their careers more into their own hands than ever before. So long are the days of long commutes and just putting up with it. Now are the days of trying to find a work life balance that actually works. So let's dig into what this article is saying. Well, workers are quitting their jobs in record numbers, with the figure approaching 3.9 million in July, a hair shy of the record set in April, which has been come to be known as the Great Resignation. But a new global study of 5,500 workers and small business leaders find that the mass exodus is being driven mainly by members of Generation Z, or those who've spent the least time in the workforce, and millennials. This is a big question. Why is it those groups? Why is it not, the boomers that are quitting at this point? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but let's see what this article says. The study by software and data analytics company Adobe found that more than half of Gen Z respondents reported planning to seek a new job within the next year. Now, personally, there's probably a lot of reasons I could assume that this is happening for younger people. Number one, younger people are more likely to change jobs anyway. Less responsibilities, less commitment to family, more flexibility, more interest in new fields. People's careers tend to be a bit more volatile when they're younger. They want to move they want to work remote because that's what they've been used to. Maybe they're just graduating college, right? And they've been used to working remote the past year because of the pandemic. And then these companies are saying you got to come in person, right? So there are tons and tons of reasons why, but it seems that not being satisfied is one of the big things. This generation is also reporting to be the least satisfied with their jobs, while everyone else is just unsatisfied with Gen Z and millennials, and with their work-life balance at 56%. So they don't like their jobs and they don't like the work-life balance of their jobs. Now, 59 and 56% isn't surprising to me. I mean, half of people don't like their jobs. I feel like those stats have been around forever, even pre-pandemic. But let's see what else it says. Nearly 2/3 of them, 62%, say they feel the most pressure to do work during office hours, even though they say they do their best work outside of normal office hours. Now, this can be taken in a few different ways. The first thing is like, oh my gosh, they're so full of themselves. I can't believe that they won't just work during the workday. Oh, you want to work on your own timeline. You don't want to just be 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever it might be. You're so, full of yourself. I don't think that's actually what's happening here. What's happening here and what we've seen the trend be over the last 10, 15 years is that companies no longer respect working hours. They expect you to answer the phone at night, in the morning, on the weekends. They expect you to answer emails at night, in the morning, on the weekends. They expect you to always be on, always be available. I know in my first few jobs, they asked for my cell phone, and that was a big debate. Do you give out your cell phone number to people at work? Because they're going to text you, they're going to call you. And with email and everything, how many of us have been waking up in the morning at some point in our careers, and the first thing you do is check your work email? I used to wake up in the middle of the night. So if we're going to be working 15-hour days anyway, shouldn't we be allowed to say, well, I work best at these hours? If you're going to expect me to always be on, I should have more flexibility in when I'm actually spending the majority of my working hours doing the work. So anyway, I think that this is more so an issue of, well, if I end up working all day anyway, so these are just my most productive hours, rather than, people just being full of it. But let's see what else they say. Companies are facing extreme difficulty in finding workers. Not that there's not workers out there, but companies are getting real picky with who they pick. So with more than 9 million open positions nationwide, a variety of reasons have been offered for the situation, including worries about the coronavirus, responsibilities caring for children or elderly relatives, and low wages. The study suggests that the trend will continue, with 35% of workers surveyed saying that they plan to switch jobs in the next year. Of that group, 61% said that they would do so to exercise more control over their schedules. I think this is the big thing. More control over our schedules. Why am I allowing a company to dictate my entire schedule, especially when VPs make their own schedules and everyone makes their own schedules and we work constantly? So if we're working constantly, we just want some level of control, right? Back in the day, you used to say, I come in at 8, I leave at 5, don't bother me outside of those hours. But gone are those days. So if you're going to be bothering me all the time, I at least want some autonomy over when I start my day and end my day, or take my lunch, or go on a break, right? Sometimes you got to go to the bathroom, Another study released this week from human resources consultant Gallagher found 72% of companies surveyed either raise or plan to raise their base salaries. Finally. But a number of surveys taken during the coronavirus have found that money alone will not be enough to satisfy workers with schedule flexibility, additional benefits on top of demands employees are making on employers. See, here's the thing. Companies keep saying that they care about their employees and that they are a family and that they want you to work here forever and they will foster your career. They promise all these things. They get people's hopes up, and then they rarely deliver on them. So if a company can't do the basics, right, like allow you to choose when you're going to get your work done without micromanaging every minute of your day, well, people aren't going to trust the company. And when trust breaks down, people don't want to stick around. So I think this is what we're seeing, is a breakdown of trust. And, there's going to be a learning curve as we all go remote, and companies have to learn to trust employees, and employees have to learn to trust companies. And from what I'm seeing as a coach, there's not a lot of trust going around lately, because there's a lot of people smiling through their teeth at each other, not really helping. The studies come as businesses are grappling with a spike in coronavirus cases spurred by the rise of the Delta variant. This is a big thing. Companies were like, all right, COVID is here. Everyone has to work remote. We have to figure out how to do this remote work thing. And for a year, they figured it out, and everyone was doing a pretty decent job. Revenues were increasing. Companies were doing well. Not all of them. In-person companies, of course, struggled. But anything tech-related or anything that could be transitioned to remote work continued to function. And then arbitrarily, when things started getting better with the pandemic, arbitrarily companies just said, come back to the office. Why? We're working remote. Everything is going fine. Don't care. Come back. We want you here. We have real estate that we need to use. So get back into the office. And people understandably don't want to pay for the childcare, don't want to pay for the commute, don't want to spend 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of their day in a car, don't want to sit at the office and have to go out for lunch when they can make lunch at home. And if it's been working remote up to this point, what is the justification? Companies didn't give them. They just said, because we said so. And obviously that's a terrible argument. So now they're saying, everyone get back in the office. And then the Delta variant hits. And now they're saying, well, never mind. I guess you can work from home. And so in another 3 to 6 months, they're going to say, get back in the office. And this tension, this back and forth, this breakdown of trust is going to create a lot of issues for people. For many millennials and those in Gen Z, some of their earliest, most formative career years have been spent working remotely, leaving them to foster work relationships and rapport without traditional structures. There are no water coolers anymore. At the same time, the nation is engaged in a cantankerous debate over whether to mask up again in the face of the Delta variant and whether to adhere to the request to get vaccinated. A new poll released Thursday from the Associated Press Center for Public Affairs research found that 47% of in-person workers are in favor of vaccine mandates, while 26% are opposed. Among remote workers, the numbers are higher. 59% say that they support mandates for in-person work. When it comes to the mandates, most people seem to favor them. But what do you think about all of this? Do you think that companies are building good relationships with their employees, are learning to trust their employees, are giving their employees the ability to be flexible? Do you think that they're being unreasonable? Are employees being unreasonable? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Obviously, there's a discussion to be had here, and there is no one size fits all. Everyone's got to figure it out and negotiate it for themselves. So get out there, do good work, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be back with more of these live streams and more of these articles. And if you come across anything that seems interesting that you'd like me to talk about on these live streams, send it my way. Excited to see what you got, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.
I'm too old for this. Been around this, broken down for way too long. Left my home for this. Story-eyed, it's no surprise. Things went wrong. What was I thinking, babe? All the mistakes I made.